Hello Malaysia, it is me Yvette and it is me Grace and you're watching KNN TV. Let us have a glance at the headlines first.
The feel about sex is frowned upon in Malaysian society. This may entice young people to experience it for themselves. Adolescents are regularly exposed to sexual information or pornographic websites and gifters, each to a number of serious misunderstandings about sexual and reproductive health, according to the Sexual and Reproductive Health and Research Association.
Many young Malaysian girls, which includes 35% of the population, believe that becoming involved for the first time will not result in pregnancy, demonstrating a glaring lack of sex education based on REACH 2018. Because young moms bear a large parenting strain, adolescent pregnancies pose considerable physiological, psychological, and emotional hazards.
So, here we have Dr. Anye and Dr. Galit of CCD Organization to further explain more.
So, today I'm going to be talking about sex education. Understanding of sex education is still alarmingly low, despite its importance, particularly within adolescents, defined by the World Health Organization as any person between the ages of 10 to 19. Statistics show that an average of 18,000 teenage Malaysian girls get pregnant each year. Meanwhile, in 2018, 94% of HIV disease in Malaysia was transmitted through sex. Hence, there are increasing demands in recent years calling for better sex education in Malaysia. In current times, youngsters often seek information online. However, without proper education channels, it will succumb them to misinformation.
The truth is, Malaysia has implemented a sex education program called Reproductive and Social Health Education (PEERS) in 2011. But the program was either vague or only covered biological facts like the reproductive system. Topics on sexuality are often avoided. In fact, some teachers and educators are also shy to discuss this topic among the students. They will use metaphors or analogy to explain, but this often further confuses students. Hence, it is important to have well-trained professionals or teachers who know how to appropriately deliver this topic to students of different age groups.
In addition, sex education often focuses on abstinence, which is in line with religious beliefs in Malaysia. Abstinence often instills guilt and shame strategy in order to refrain adolescents from engaging in sexual activity.
Apart from that, there are also stigma and misconception around sex education, as there are people who believe sex education promotes sex, but instead informs youngsters on healthy sexual behaviors, hoping them to assess risk and disease prevention. Research has proven that CSE will decrease frequency of sexual activity and increase contraceptive use.
On top of that, parental attitudes play a key role in effective sex education as well. Though Malaysian parents generally support the teaching of sex education in schools, their beliefs and misconceptions could get in their way to provide their children a holistic understanding on the topic.
Thank you, Dr. Onion and Dr. Garlic. That is for the headlines and background. Further more information and live interviews will be shared after a short commercial break. Stay tuned.
Stop! How can you bully him?
Yes, I can. I have 10 million power.
Rome's 10% food gathering buff gave me abundant resources to develop my city and train my troops ahead of others. My power rose so quickly it even surpassed the Alliance leader. Glory once more.
Welcome back. Here we have the interviews conducted by Dr. Terry.
Who do we have here and how old are you?
Hi, my name is Daniel. I'm 19.
Hi, I'm Roger and I'm 21 this year.
I'm going to ask your thoughts about sexual education and when were you exposed to sexual education?
I think it's a good thing to learn about, especially when you're growing older, like when you're entering the puberty age. Personally, I've gotten some aspects of it during standard 6 of primary school.
Are your views on sexual education liberal or conservative and why?
I consider myself to be moderate.
I would say liberal, as everyone will get exposed to it when they get older and older, and it's also like safer this way.
Have you ever applied sexual education in your life? If so, which have you applied?
No.
Not really.
Do you feel like there is a lack of sexual education in Malaysia, especially towards the youth? And in your opinion, do you think it is necessary for sexual education among the youth?
There definitely is a lack of it among the youth. Like I said, I've only somewhat gotten something during standard 6, and as far as I can remember, the second instance we had any form of sexual education was during my last year of secondary school, which is year 11. And even then, it's not really a very comprehensive kind of education.
Yeah, I really do think that Malaysia has a lack of sex education as it is not really talked about in our country. And I think the youth should really be exposed to sexual education to know more about the consequences of it and how they should practice it.
In your opinion, should your country invest more in sexual education among the youth?
I would say so, yeah.
Yes, definitely. I think Malaysia should really invest in more of sexual education as they can help the youth practice safe sex and to avoid any unwanted consequences.
Hello everyone, we are here in the street to find potential candidates. Let's go. Hi sir, do you have 2 minutes to spare to have an interview with us?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so alright, so who do you have here with us today?
I'm Brandon. I'm still single this year.
What are your thoughts about sexual education and what age were you exposed to sexual education?
The mic is a little too close. Okay, so I was exposed to sexual education at a quite early age. I was introduced pornography by my brother probably at the age of 7. Talking about this sensitive topic, can you guys put a mosaic on my face?
Sure, there will be no problem at all. Yes. Okay, moving on to the next question. Have you ever applied for sexual education in your life? For example, period puberty or contraceptive? If so, which have you applied for?
Wait, what the f***? Do I look like a girl to you?
Hey, sir, please do not swear as this is a very serious interview.
Sorry, there was a little technical error on the other side, and we apologize for the inconvenience. Coming back to the topic, the purpose of this study is to bring awareness regarding the lack of proper sex education among Malaysian adolescents, which lead to poor understanding on this topic, and to uncover the different factors of cause.
This field of social sciences helps change society norms around sexual education because it is strongly related to our basic desires to reproduce. Psychology studies people in society while sociology studies societies. Psychology is based on the idea of nature and nurture, which outlines how an individual's behavior is shaped by internal and external circumstances. Sociology examines the macro elements of humanity, such as cultures, social structures, macroeconomics, and policymaking. To understand how a society works as a complex machine, despite their considerable differences, these two terminologies strive to understand behavior patterns. Social psychology, a confluence of the two disciplines, is the result. Example, sociological notions of cultures, social structures, macroeconomics, and policy making while studying human behavior.
Our survey found that most respondents believe Malaysia lacks sexual education. However, there are different opinions on exposure, political involvement, necessity in economic welfare, which our studies covers. The responses range in age from 16 to 58, giving a comprehensive representation of how various generations view this topic. Despite the age gap, this population seems to agree on our country's sexual education deficit. This question goes alongside another survey question about sexual education, for example, liberal or conservative, with the majority settling on liberal views. The spectrum of conservative to liberal is stereotypically directly proportional to age, as this notion reflects the views of people from varying generations with different exposures and resources towards the topic. However, conducting the survey within a racially diverse demographic in Malaysia would also mean other factors which come into play, such as religion and political views, which in turn tunes the spectrum among these two curves.
In the survey, 81.8% of respondents have not applied their sexual education, leaving 18.2% of those who have. Some examples of what the minority has applied include the purchase of contraceptives, self-education about gender differences, as well as the learning and understanding of the menstruation cycle. Psychologically speaking, the argument that lies behind these numbers lies within the internalized embarrassment with the practice of acts which are societally considered unholy, dirty, or unorthodox. That is driven by the sociological factors of external influence that comes with varying opinions from said diversity of people, particularly lying in conservative notions and ideologies that subverts normalized sexual education.
When looking at the awareness of sexual education of the public, it is easy to paint a picture of the divide among the economic statuses, which is B40, M40, and T20. With the majority of respondents agreeing with the educational gap, exposure in turn raises the question about accessibility towards various resources. For instance, issues pertaining to menstruation are still rampant among our society. When relating to this topic to wealth, period poverty is one of the products that do not do women justice, especially among the B40 community, where accessible sanitary products like pads and tampons are considered a luxury in their circumstances. The outreach towards this socio-economic group is influenced by sociological factors driven by the fight or flight response of human beings. This rationale is justified by the mindset of needing monetary income to survive rather than placing priority on education, which takes time away from work.
In human intervention, a majority of 70.9% indicate that materials on sexual education provided by the government is insufficient, while a hefty 23.6% answered with uncertainty. The notion of insufficient materials is tied deeply within our education system, as an unstandardized syllabus of sexual education does not give an accurate picture of what proper sexual education is meant to be. The paradox of 23.6% answering with an unsure view indicates that the reach of the government towards the target group is ineffective. However, a credit must be given where it is due, as government services are indeed available which caters towards various matters pertaining to social welfare under the efforts of Lembaga Penduduk and Pembangunan Keluarga.
This study, which delves into the target group of adolescents, coincides with the age group with the statistics by the Ministry of Health, which recorded an average of 28 teen pregnancies a day, in which 25% of them were out of wedlock. From the perspective of psychology, adolescents reach a point in life where the journey of self-exploration is at its peak, where curiosities are itching to be saturated and hormones raging as they undergo this phase. This further justifies the reason why proper education from a young age is crucial in influencing an individual's future actions.
The philosophy of prosperity, otherwise known as Falsafah Sejahtera, embodies the spirit of a balanced well-being that coexists with common shared values and prosperity. In a context that extends above individuals, organizations, and society, the philosophy of Sejahtera takes into account all aspects working together in a social ecosystem. The redundancy of sexual education is no longer relevant in today's progressing world of knowledge and awareness. The psychological point of view comes into the picture when the human self embarks on a journey of self-exploration, developing an affinity for wanting to know more. Breeding curiosity for life comes taking precautions in order to let unwanted consequences go astray, which in turn strikes the balance of well-being that the philosophy of Sejahtera encapsulates in order to induce young and bright individuals who can think and act independently and responsibly in our journey of a developing nation growing in tandem with the ideals of Wawasan 2025.
Our research and studies have found that the lack of sex education among Malaysian adolescents is caused by a number of factors, including the taboo nature of sex in Malaysian culture, adolescents' lack of knowledge about sex education, the exclusion of topics related to sexuality from sex education programs, stigma and misunderstandings around sex education, and last but not least, parental attitudes towards it.
The majority of respondents to the survey we conducted to elicit more information and opinions agreed that sexual education is lacking in Malaysia. It is clear that there is a widespread understanding within this group that sexual education is lacking in our nation. There is also a broad description of how different generations view this issue, with the younger generation being more forthright about their opinions. An alarming amount of respondents have not used their sexual education as a result of a lack of sex education, leaving a meager fraction of those who have done so as a result of internal and external factors such as society, family, and friends.
In addition to this, it is also mentioned that a lack of resources is closely related to our educational system, as an unstandardized sexual education curriculum that reaches out to various socio-economic classes does not accurately convey to the country what effective sexual education is meant to be.
Sex education is to provide young people the knowledge and abilities they need to make the best choices about sex and relationships for themselves throughout their life. which further emphasizes the need for adequate sex education from an early age. Thank you.